I'm so happy to be back in Mexico City. This is truly my happy place. This time I'm staying in Condesa, and it's right on the border of Parque Mexico, which is absolutely stunning. I'm also so happy that I'm able to see all of the incredible shows that opened during Mexico City Art Week, even though I wasn't able to be there or go to Zonamaco or Material this year. I'm glad that I wasn't missing out completely. Since we're staying in Condesa, I thought we would hit up some art galleries in Condesa first, starting with RGR Gallery. This is a show by the Mexican artist Magali Lara, and this is her first solo show with the gallery, and it highlights a set of works that she's made over the past 4 decades in a variety of mediums such as oil, graphics, gouache, and textiles, as well as artist books. My personal favorites are these large blue and gray abstract works, which she created in 2024. In fact, the whole theme of the show is inspired by the concept of working with gray and what gray can represent. Cezanne believed that, quote, "one is not a painter until one has painted a gray." This suggests that mastering shades of gray is essential to truly understanding painting, possibly emphasizing the importance of tone, depth, and form over color. Lara's works in this show use stains and subtle color tones to explore the political and poetic aspects of gray, monochromatic painting from a female perspective. Her works explore the subtle aspects of intimacy and femininity in daily life, while still embracing the activist potential of modern painting. This room features a video work which shows various shades of gray being added to a white surface. I won't show much of the video because the camera didn't pick up on it that well, but it was very intriguing. Our next stop is right next door at Le Laboratoire. This is such a beautiful space. I love their little back garden area. There are also little stores, and there are 2 gallery spaces as well as a great cafe in the front that we will be visiting for a little pick-me-up before our next gallery visit. The first gallery space features an exhibit by the renowned Mexico City artist Roberto Turnbull. So Turnbull was a part of Neo-Mexicanism, which is an artistic movement in Mexico during the 1980s and early 1990s that, quote, re-examined national identity by blending Mexican cultural symbols, history, and popular iconography with contemporary artistic styles. In general, Turnbull's work explores abstraction and figuration, often drawing inspiration from Mexican culture, art history, and nature. And he's also known for constantly reinventing his work, heavily valuing freedom, chance, and intuition as drivers. He often gravitates toward overlooked materials and themes, finding dignity in their history. And his raw, expressive images carry a deep emotional charge, reflecting on his empathy for discarded or forgotten elements of existence. In the second gallery space is an exhibit by the Austrian artist Alois Kronschlaeger, and it features a few different series from him, one called Strata, which is the name of the exhibit, Torque, and Color Fields, which are the works we see when we first enter the exhibit. These works pay homage to the line, and these grid patterns are meant to represent various patterns within society, such as cityscapes, cybernetic networks, and cartographic maps. To create these works, he meticulously uses an eyedropper to apply the paint in this highly controlled manner that still leaves room for spontaneity. The works in the center of the room are part of his Strata series, or Strata, I'm not sure which, featuring a type of grid, but using a very different material. So these beautiful sculptures are made from acrylic emulsion and black volcanic stone, a material which is native to Mexico City as well as its surrounding regions. And this is an intentional tribute to Mexico City and to Mexico in general. He's lived in Mexico City for several years now and has been, quote, captivated by the beauty of these building materials and the unique architecture of the city. So it's fitting that this series of works are meant to represent an aerial view of a landscape and, more specifically, the, quote, discovery of a timeless city. In his Torque works, he explores how, quote, art can transform mechanical concepts into visual and sensory experiences. So similar to the works of kinetic artists, he's trying to tap into the viewer's prescription of movement with these works, conveying the state of dynamism as the viewer moves around the piece. We're coming up on one of the Luis Barragan design homes, which are scattered throughout Mexico City. This one is called Casa Gilardi, and it is a private residence, but they do accept tours through appointment. And spoiler, we will see the outside of another Barragan property later today, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Our next stop is Kurimanzutto Gallery, one of the most iconic galleries in Mexico City. This space was designed by the renowned Mexican architect Alberto Calac. He also did the Biblioteca Vasconcelos, among other beautiful, beautiful places, but that is truly one of the most beautiful libraries on earth. It is also in Mexico City. And this is an exhibit by the South Korean artist Haegue. And if you have a really good memory and watch a lot of my videos, you may remember her work from the campus, a place we visited last summer. Her works were in the science lab, which I thought was perfect. This show is titled Arcane Abstractions, and it features works from Yang as well as a, quote, archival display with pieces made by Mexican artisans and references to local materials closely tied to the works on view. We're in for a real treat today because Kurimanzutto is utilizing their viewing room. And in full disclosure, I've never actually seen it before. They've never had anything on show and I've been here, so I'm really excited. It's tucked away in this beautiful courtyard. What we see here are 3 realistic studies for larger works that Damián Ortega may decide to create in the future. So they start for him as diagrams in his notebooks, and then his team helps bring them to reality. For being studies, I will say they are still quite spectacular. And as you could have guessed by their forms, or maybe I just did because I'm a math and science nerd, the pieces are inspired by science, specifically the quote, porosity and lightness of matter, the empty spaces between particles, and the quote, electric connections that bind objects together. Our next stop is Laboratoire Gallery, which is right across from the famous Casa Louis Barragan that you can visit, although I will say tickets are very challenging to get. Outside these gates, you would never know that there's a beautiful gallery and courtyard just on the other side. This is an exhibit by the French artist Étienne Chambaud featuring a variety of sculptures. So the show is titled Limbo, which is fitting since it creates a space where meaning remains open and unsettled, resisting closure by presenting these objects as these fluid thresholds rather than static forms. This is evoking a world shaped by absence, potential, and the yet to be discovered rather than certainty. My eye was immediately drawn to the works on the gallery floor, which are titled Zebroids, and they're caught in the state of limbo due to their form. So to create them, horse sculptures from the 19th century are cut and folded, allowing the objects to live in multiple states at once, quote, contained and emancipated, complete and disjointed. So this can be representative of the various states an animal can exist in between being domesticated and feral. This work shares the same name as the overall show, Limbo, and it's made up of hundreds of identical brass plumbing knobs, creating this sort of hidden system. So the use of industrial materials is intentional. It's meant to represent some kind of concealed infrastructure, some elusive order or function, and the placement of the knobs is meant to represent the cosmic expanse. In the back of the gallery is Labour's viewing room, featuring works from a variety of the artists that they represent. And as always, I will do my best to leave the names of each one on the screen if I'm able to find them. So after seeing all of those amazing things, we have definitely worked up an appetite, and we are going to have an amazing lunch at our favorite tamale spot, as well as a beautiful walk in Parque Mexico. But do not worry, we're going to go visit more galleries tomorrow in Roma Norte, so hang on tight for that. It is a new day, still a beautiful day. So a few of the galleries were closed after Art Week, so we weren't able to view everything at the same time. So we're visiting these two about a week later, but very, very excited for these two shows. Our first stop is going to be Galería Karen Huber, which is subtly tucked away on this busy street. In fact, I walked right past the entrance, even though I've been there many times, but I kind of love that about it. It's very like, if you know, you know kind of place. This is an exhibit by the Mexican artist Lucía Vidales, who just had a museum show at the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art in Kansas City in 2024. In that show, she reinterpreted the iconic Last Supper, critiquing historical imagery and addressing modern representations of communal dining. In this exhibit, I see a lot of romanticism in her works through things like her use of color, but as well as how she places her subject matter. It's usually highlighting a lack of control in the situation, which signifies our place in the universe as beings. So the name of the show translates to cute and wild in English, and it speaks to that as well. So sometimes it features these cartoon-esque creatures in these really grotesque situations. So for example, there's a work where there's a group of flies devouring what looks like a pile of human remains. In fact, each painting kind of makes you ponder this duality and what's really going on. So for example, are we looking at a beautiful story unfold, or are we looking at a violent scene? In the side gallery space, there's a group show that was put together for this year's Art Week, featuring the works of 8 different artists that the gallery works with. And again, I will leave the names of each artist on the screen for those that I zoom into, my favorites, as well as in the description box below. This is going to be our final stop of this video. This is OMR Gallery, and we're here to see Yann Gerstberger's second exhibit with the gallery. It is titled 2 Feet in 1 Bucket of Ice, featuring new works that are inspired by Mexican culture, art history, and nature. If you're not familiar with Gerstberger, he is a French artist who relocated to Mexico City over a decade ago. And to create these works, he uses a distinctive technique that he developed where he blends cotton and polyester yarn, and they're dyed with the synthetic and natural pigments before being glued and sewn onto the canvas. Upstairs is the gallery's viewing room, featuring works from a variety of artists that they work with. I think this work is definitely a nod to Felix González Torres. This is one of the gallery assistants. Unfortunately, I didn't get his name, but he was very, very helpful. And that is all for this video, but do not worry, there's so much more that I have to share with you all from Mexico City and beyond, so make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss any of it, and I will see you all in my next video.